Francis Ngannou, the Predator, the chairman of PFL Africa, didn't show up to PFL Africa last event. Why did he do that? I'm going to tell you why he did it. But before I do, I'm going to give you a brief history lesson on Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, a specimen of a man, no word of a lie, from Cameroon, went to France, started training martial arts. He started from boxing. Then he moved to MMA. Fernando Lopez was the one that encouraged him to move to MMA. Say, guy, look, I think you'll be better at MMA. He obeyed, he obliged, started training MMA, eventually got signed into the UFC. He did very good in the UFC, moved up the ranking, knocking people out left, right, and center. Till he eventually fought Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic showed him there was levels to the game. You need a ground game, man. Not just knocking people out with your powerful hands. You need more than that to fight a champion like Stipe Miocic. Anyhow, he lost that fight in flying colors. Went back to the drawing board. Kept training. Won a couple of more fights. Then fought Stipe Miocic for the second time. And he won Stipe Miocic. He finished Stipe Miocic. Quick learner. The guy is a specimen, as I said. Some people just have it. And Francis Ngannou has it. He even started fighting a bit late compared to most people. Most people start fighting when they're young, 7, 8, 9. They start going to the gym, maybe 11, 12. You know what I mean? But he started later than most people. But in heavyweight, it's all good sometimes. Once you have that knockout power, you train a bit of wrestling, your takedown defense, sharpen everything up bit by bit that way. That was exactly what he did. Anyhow, he became a champion. Was supposed to fight John Jones. John Jones was moving up from light heavyweight to heavyweight. That didn't happen. One thing we know for sure was they couldn't come up with a deal with Francis Ngannou at the end of his contract. Dana White always says this in his press conference, says Francis Ngannou is not a good guy. He's not the guy that you think he is. That is according to Dana White.
Francis isn't a good guy. Plays the good guy. I don't understand the language, and so he seems like he's a nice guy.
He said he was about to fire Francis Ngannou a long time ago, but the team said he was misunderstood. They should leave him alone. He's good for the company. But Dana White, at the back of his head, never liked Francis Ngannou. Put that to one side. Anyhow, he left the UFC and he got a sweet deal with PFL. A great deal. I don't even know how PFL came up with that deal because they're not making any money off Francis Ngannou from what I can see. Even PFL don't even know if they're going to have a business in the next 5 years. They don't know that. He went to the PFL. They offered him a sweet contract. 2-fight deal, 10 million each. They also said, Francis, you're going to be the chairman of PFL Africa because we intend to promote fighting in Africa. Sweet deal, man. You cannot deny that. And to make it even better, they said you can do whatever you want. You can fight boxing, you can fight kickboxing, you can fight jiu-jitsu, whatever you want. Your sponsorship, get your sponsorship. Unlike the UFC, you have to wear the uniform, you have to do all that. Francis Ngannou had all the freedom in the world. He had a sweet deal. I don't know how he got it. Personally, I'm happy for him. But for PFL, I don't think it was a good deal for them. And it's still not a good deal for them. Francis Ngannou has only had one fight for the PFL against Ferreira. I don't even know any of my friends that watched that fight. Except for big fight fans like me that ended up watching that fight. And because of Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, he fought Tyson Fury. That was his first boxing fight. Apparently, he got 10 million for that, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that fight, he fought Anthony Joshua for 20 million. Bruh, that's 30 million. Plus his deal is 20 million deal. That's 50 million altogether. But he's only had one fight, so that's 40 million. So there's still 10 million left because he still has one fight deal with them. Put that to one side, guys. Francis Ngannou made the right decision, in my opinion, leaving the UFC when it comes to money-wise and the quickness to accumulate that money. Maybe if he had stayed in the UFC in the long run, maybe he might have made that same money or maybe a little bit more, but he made that money for doing pretty much fuck all. And PFL, they haven't seen that money back. Trust me, they haven't seen that money back. But Francis Ngannou has to do one thing for PFL regardless, which I think this might be how they get their money back, is to be the ambassador and the chairman for PFL Africa. This was their second event a few weeks back, if I'm not mistaken, and Francis Ngannou didn't show up. Why won't you show up to PFL Africa, mate? I don't understand it. No matter what reason, you gotta be really sick or in the hospital or something for you not to show up to PFL Africa, because that is part of the deal. You showed up for your paycheck. You showed up for the boxing fight that they allowed you to go do all these things. You gotta show up for the PFL Africa. You just gotta show up. If you're gonna promote PFL Africa, no matter how much beef you guys are having backstage with the PFL guys, you just gotta compromise it and show up, in my opinion. You just gotta show up. Business is business. It seems to me like Francis Ngannou, when it comes to business, is a bit difficult. He needs to calm that down a bit. Obviously, probably the best man, like when I mean like the best man, I mean character-wise, he probably has a good character because he's friends with people like Usman, Israel Adesanya, and so on and so forth. And then maybe from his upbringing, he's probably a good man anyways. I'm not denying that. For those of you that know Francis Ngannou personally, I'm not denying that. I don't know the man. I'm speaking from what I can see. Business-wise, he's a bit somehow, there's a question mark on it. Remember Fernando Lopez, his coach that brought him up from France into the UFC, that has been with him from day one. They're no longer friends. Even him, he said it in his interview. He said, "You don't know Francis Ngannou."
It feels crazy that you wouldn't speak to each other. You kind of came up together. You became famous in the sport together. It feels crazy to me.
Well, when people will realize who is Francis Ngannou, they will get shocked. For now, it's something that people cannot realize.
He's basically saying Francis Ngannou is not a good guy. He said that as well. So that's two people. Dana White and Fernando Lopez, two people that we all know he's done business with. The two people are saying, nah, for Francis Ngannou. Dana White said he will never have anything to do with him. Fernando Lopez also said the same. He doesn't think he will ever have anything to do with him. That's two people now. And then now PFL, that paid you, that's given you everything that you want. Everything that you ever dreamed of. I don't care what the situation is. You got to show up as a chairman to PFL Africa, the second event. The reason that Francis Ngannou, the reason that he gave why he didn't come to PFL Africa was because they're putting the African fighters in the prelims, not the main event.
For example, like, if you want to know what exactly is the reason why I wasn't there, I wasn't very okay with the first PFL Africa event seeming to be like an undercard.
So in other words, what you're saying is that first PFL Africa card, I remember it was in mid-July, and the main event was Johnny Eblin versus Costello Van Steenis, Dakota Decheva. Those aren't, part of the PFL Africa movement that you're starting with them, and you wanted it to just be about the African fighters, right?
Exactly.
Guy, I would never pay my hard-earned money for fighters that I don't know in the main event. You got to build these guys up. Nobody knows them. You got to use the guys that are known already to build them up. When Francis Ngannou first came to the UFC, he was fighting in the prelims and he moved up gradually, knocking people out. Then he started moving up, started putting them in main events, championship fights. That is how it works. Because you're in PFL Africa doesn't mean you put the African fighters in the main card. You put them on the prelims. The guys that shine the next time, you can probably put them on the first fight of the main card. You build them up that way. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money from it. You're just not going to make any money. This is business at the end of the day. And the thing Francis Ngannou needs to know as well is this is a long-term thing. It's not a short-term, you know what I mean? Like, so he's probably thinking about it now. Don't think about it now, man. It's a long-term thing. These guys will eventually start being the main event. Build them up. Let them get some training. I don't know how good their training is even. Their jiu-jitsu, their kickboxing, their wrestling, how good it is. But with time, when they keep training, they will get better. And people over in Europe, in America, everywhere will start watching them. That is how it works. And these guys that run the PFL, they're businessmen. They know exactly what they're doing. So for Francis Ngannou to say he's not going to show up because they're not putting them, this was one of his reasons. He was talking to Ariel Awani, and this was one of his reasons, that because they were in the prelims. That is not a good enough reason. It's just not a good enough reason. You got to be, you got to pull your own end of the deal. That is the way I look at it. You just got to put your own end of the deal. It doesn't matter. It's not your company at the end of the day. You guys are supposed to make money together. They're trying to use your influence. They're trying to, everybody knows Francis Ngannou in Africa, obviously. They're trying to use him, and okay, that was part of the deal. That was why you got a good, sweet deal with the PFL in the first place, the 20 million, 2 fights deal. And whoever fights you is going to get 2 million as well, guaranteed. Which is nice for Francis Ngannou. It's nice on him to actually think about that in his contract. That's a very good one. That is what I'm saying. He's probably a good guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Francis Ngannou is not a good guy or not. I don't know the guy. But from what I'm saying, I'm talking about business-wise. From what I'm saying, there's definitely a question mark there, man. He needs to adjust some things. There's definitely a question mark. So what's going to happen now to PFL Africa? I hope it's all rectified. The next time we're going to see Francis Ngannou there, the chairman of PFL Africa. Build this thing up, man. Before you know it, man, in the next 5-6 years, see what Usman is doing in Nigeria. He has his own promotion, man. He's probably not making any money from it yet. But trust me, if he keeps going with the amount of talent in Nigeria, he is going to make a lot of money in the next couple of years, especially when he's completely retired. When he's like 50s, in his 50s, and this promotion keeps going in Nigeria, sky is the limit, man. Sky is the limit. People are watching that now. There's a lot of hustlers. There's a lot of people that need to feed in Nigeria. A lot of people. A lot of young men coming up. They're going to start training, fighting. They'll be like, oh, there's hope. If I'm a good fighter, I can make millions. So that's even giving people things to think about, giving young people things to do. That will eventually grow. That is the way I want Francis Ngannou to think about this. Whatever beef he's having with PFL, get it squashed, man. You got to hold up to the end of your own deal. PFL are not even making money from you, man. They're really not. I don't even know how they're affording to pay you all this. I hope they got commission from those boxing matches as well. That could be part of the deal. We don't know. Like, you can do whatever you want, but you're going to give us 20% of whatever you make when you do whatever you want. That could also be part of the deal, which is going to be good for them. But anyhow, this doesn't sit well with me, the chairman of Africa, PFL. You had your second event and you didn't show up. That doesn't sit well with me. I don't care what happened. The man got to show up to his working place, man. You just got to. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think, from what you know, or just from common sense anyways, what do you think? Do you think it was right for Francis Ngannou not to show up? Because they wouldn't put the fighters in Africa in the main card. Let me know what you think, guys. And show some love as usual. Subscribe, share the video, and all those good stuff. And I'm going to see you guys at the next one. Take care.